there's a certain topic that I wanted to discuss with everyone that to me was kind of pressing, and I saw it. I saw a lot of people, talk about it currently on Twitter, especially social media. I've spoken about this topic in the past, both as someone who is familiar with it and someone involved in not why it happens, but obviously maybe feeding the fire unintentionally. So I felt that it was on my onus to really discuss this. But I did it recently for another player. And today, before we start Coinbox, I want to talk about Aquila. So I made a video not long ago about Onin, and when Onin won SmashCon, the amount of harassment that he received for winning the tournament with Steve. Specifically, that's what caused this whole thing to happen, right? When he won too rapidly or too dominantly with Steve, people didn't like it, all right? They didn't like it, especially because they don't like the character. And of course, who am I to speak on this character being the kind of guy that that is so, me personally, I hate Steve, I have abandoned Coinbox, this and that. You might think, well, HBox, isn't you and your vehement hatred of Steve contributing to this? First of all, I wanted to clear the air on something, and I encourage everyone to watch the previous video I made about this, about Onin, because this is very, very important. This is very, very important here. You absolutely need to separate the player and the character. Please, you need to separate the player from the character. The only person you should be angry at for Steve's existence in this game and how broken he is quite literally Sakurai and his team. That is it. Sure, you can maybe extend some frustration towards TOs who decide to not ban the character or have him, but let's be honest here. I know I run the Coinbox. I know it's online. I still have my stance that I think Steve is a very overpowered character online, and that's why I banned him for the Coinbox series. Offline, different argument. But in general, this still is a topic that we're debating that has multiple sides to it, that people are on the fence about. Some regions do ban him, some regions don't. But you know what we can agree on? We can agree that going into a 16-year-old stream and calling him shit or harassing him for doing this is probably not a great thing to do. We can probably do that, okay? Like that, you don't need to have a view on game balance. You don't need to have a view on what is considered overpowered and not do that. To not do that to a teenage player. For the second time, by the way. First, it's Onin in North America, and now, from what I'm seeing here, and correct me if I'm wrong here from what I was reading, but from what I'm seeing here, the Japanese scene is now also doing that to him. So the Japanese Smash scene is now also on this wavelength of thinking that it's okay to do that to him specifically because he's winning the most with a character. So now this is becoming more of a worldwide issue. So I don't know, maybe I have to translate this video into Japanese too to get my point out across there. I will remind everyone, me being one of the biggest, haters for this character in the world, I played Puff in Melee, okay? I played Puff in Melee. I was #1 in the world in Melee with the most hated character. I know not exactly what Aquila feels, but something very, very close to it, okay? And when people would complain about Puff, I was like, wow, get good. It was kind of annoying, but I dealt with it. But when people turned that around and said that I'm a terrible human being for playing for what it was, when someone told, me to kill myself when I was grocery shopping in person for playing Puff, when I was receiving so much what I did, a lot of it for playing Puff, I wasn't a perfect human being. I don't think anyone will ever be a perfect human being. I know I wasn't. But when a lot of it comes specifically from that character, specifically from me choosing to use a character that's legal in the game at tournaments that are legal and win with that character, why be angry at that person? Was Aquila at Rise and Grind? No. The character was banned at Rise and Grind and he didn't go. Neither was Big Chungus, who won the flight over to Rise and Grind after placing very, very well in Europe. And they didn't go, and they choose to compete at the tournaments where they're legal. It's not like they're barging in and knocking on the head of the TOs being like, no, we want to play in this tournament, make Steve legal. They don't do that. They don't bother anyone. They just go to the tournaments where Steve is legal. So why are you so upset at them? Seriously, what are they doing that no other player is allowed to do in that moment? Nothing. And then what the best part is, these are often teenagers. They're often people that aren't gonna, be loud about this. They're not gonna trash talk people. I've never even heard Akla speak a word apart from interviews. He's a kid. Like, just please, this doesn't have to go anything further than not liking a character or thinking a character is busted. That's where it should stop. Everyone's allowed to think what they want about Steve. That is okay. I know I have. How can I say I haven't, right? But not once will I ever say, man, screw this guy, screw this player. I can't believe this player would do this to our scene. This guy does not belong here. Why? And apart from this, with all this already in mind, comes this idea. And maybe one of the reasons I felt obligated to make this video is, have I unintentionally been contributing to this because of my manifestos against Steve as a character? It could be me. It could be any TO. It could be any top person talking about how much they don't like Steve. And in the same way, people would take that as justification for allowing themselves to go into Akula's chat and harass him or mention him on Twitter with something he doesn't want to hear. People will take any chance they have to take a figurehead or someone's disdain of a character and let that justify their anger towards a player. It's stupid. I've never, ever thought that would be okay to have that be in any way a valid reason to go after a player. Y'all need to just get a grip for once on this, okay? And if you wanted to know what happened here and the reason it came from Ether's post, every top player in this community is a human being. Some of these are minors who aren't yet capable of emotionally handling their spotlight. If you take time out of your day to harass Akula, please, go F yourself. And again, if you think that this is something I'm just making right now I should talk about this because I see this, no, please. In the description of this video, I will link my talk about this, about Onin, right after he won SmashCon. This was SmashCon, not from this year, from last year. I was talking about this. And no other top player is really talking about this right now, but I felt it too. I was moments. In fact, I did quit Melee in certain points, but I never spoke about it. I never posted I'm officially quitting. I told my family and friends, I'm done. I don't want to do this. I told Crunch, I'm never doing this again. I got a crab thrown at me, dude. Like, of course, at that point, you don't want to do it, okay? And at that point, I was an adult. I was a grown-ass. I was 26 years old. This guy's 16! 16 years old! How do you think you would have reacted when one person told you something nasty or angry at 16? Now imagine that times 100,000, or however many people are actively part of the Smash community. Imagine! It's overwhelming. We don't have thick skin. Let alone the cultural differences from Japan and the United States. I imagine the majority of the harassment comes from North America. But now I'm noticing that it's also coming from Japan too. So look, I don't want to have to always make a video about this every time it happens, but there is like a really, it is not hard at all to just not do this. It isn't. It all starts with one person. And I can ask every single one of you, hey, can y'all point out a time where you saw someone on Twitter trash talking someone for playing this character and not just the character themselves? Like, the difference can start with us. It's not, oh, I hope this other person do it. No. It's whoever's watching this right now, currently live on my stream, whoever's watching this on YouTube, it can start with us. It can start with you. Don't just not do this. If you see someone else doing it, if you see someone who is your mutual on Twitter or any other social media doing this kind of thing, call them out. Call them out. Because they're not going to listen to the public, but maybe your friend, you being their friend, they'll listen to you. So if you see it, speak on it. All right? Otherwise, we're going to lose another top player. You know how sad it is that Onin had to change their tag? Do you know how miserable that is? Jesus. Leave it at the game. There's nothing more to it than the game. No, don't, but one less Steve. This is what I mean, dude. No. This is what I mean. It's don't take the expense of a human being to get what you want within a game. I don't think anything more has to be said than that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about this. If you see it, speak on it. That's it. Steve, broken character, but that doesn't mean we have to create a broken human being or a human being whose emotions, psyche, morale, and heart are broken as well because of our actions. There's no reason it needs to go that far. Does that make sense? Do we understand? Okay. That's it. That's it.